So today what we're talking about is when stress is the symptom, and we're talking about chronic illness and mental health stuff and all of these things that can go on during midlife that can make it extra challenging, right? If you've been here for a while, you probably already know that I have an autoimmune condition. And so actually when I was going into early perimenopause, a lot of the symptoms I was having were so similar to my autoimmune condition that I actually thought that what was happening is I was having a flare. I was not, surprise, surprise, but I kept trying to do all the things, right, to address the flare, and nothing was working. And this was creating a lot of stress. And then that stress was, right, it's like a catch-22. It was coming back around and it was causing worse symptoms because we all know in perimenopause and menopause, your body is much more sensitive to stress and you have a lot more challenges with cortisol. So I thought, well, we should probably talk about this because I remember the number of times that my doctor would say to me, well, and that can actually create this cycle that's really hard to break free of. So we're going to talk about that today. Midlife brings a lot of changes. And if you're also navigating chronic health issues, responsibilities, relationship changes, aging, perimenopause, becoming an empty nester, all of this, it can feel like stress is at a fever pitch, right? And then a lot of times it is very, very difficult to get ahead of it. The symptoms are not just emotional. You start having a lot of physical symptoms, and oftentimes those physical symptoms can create a flare in your chronic health condition, making that worse. So this whole thing becomes, again, such a cycle, and it is so difficult to break free of that cycle. It's so difficult to feel any kind of hope about improving your health situation when you are dealing with this, right? I'm not feeling well. My kids are moving out. My marriage is strained. I'm having hot flashes. I'm never sleeping. I'm at a peak of stress, right? That stress is making my autoimmune condition or my health condition flare. That's stressing me out. And my perimenopausal body or menopausal body is not capable of dealing with the stress. Big, chaotic, crazy mess. Stress shows up a lot differently in midlife than it did before because of hormonal changes, because of chronic health conditions you may be dealing with now. A lot of women at this time feel like they are on edge all the time. They're either emotionally reactive or totally numb or vacillating between the two, which is my favorite way to do it. Anxious without knowing why. I talk about this sometimes and say, I just feel amped, or I feel like I woke up and I'm a little bit of a live wire today. Feeling completely overwhelmed by minor tasks, frustrated by constant fatigue, brain fog, or physical pain because, again, perimenopause and menopause creates a lot of physical pain, joint pain, frozen shoulder, aching, things like that. And I know that it's like a joke, you hit 40 and your whole body aches, but there's truth to it. There's a lot of truth to it because of the hormone changes that are going on. Some chronic health conditions that often affect women in midlife and that oftentimes become worse or more difficult to tolerate in midlife are Hashimoto's, thyroid problems, right? Autoimmune diseases like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, which is not an autoimmune disease, is very frequently diagnosed in this age. If you've dealt with long COVID or post-viral fatigue, IBS and gut issues are very common in midlife. A lot of issues with gut stuff, whether it's IBS, your SSRI is not working the same because your serotonin levels are different. You're having issues with constipation, perhaps. You develop food sensitivities that you never had before. A lot of women at this age find that they start having challenges with gluten, dairy, right? Things that are causing bloating, cramping, bowel issues. And chronic pain conditions or unexplained fatigue, not necessarily chronic fatigue syndrome, but unexplained fatigue where you feel exhausted or your body feels exhausted, almost achy much of the time. Those conditions can trigger or worsen anxiety, depression, sleep disruptions, mood swings, and social withdrawal and disconnection, which can contribute to loneliness. And then that loneliness can worsen any of the above conditions, anxiety, depression, etc. So your body can become completely and totally overloaded during this time. So when stress actually becomes a symptom of our dysregulation in our bodies. We often feel emotionally flat, constantly irritable. You wake up feeling anxious even when there is no identifiable reason. That's usually caused by a cortisol spike at night. You're waking up at 3 a.m. That can be caused also by a cortisol spike at night. You've lost motivation or feel numb towards things you used to enjoy. You have physical symptoms, gut issues, skin flares, migraines, right? No clear cause. A really close friend of mine in early perimenopause developed full body eczema, for example, and nothing helped it, right? Nothing helped it. You're constantly second guessing yourself or feeling like you're not good enough. You're struggling more with imposter syndrome. You're struggling to show up. In a lot of cases, women in midlife very seriously contemplate leaving their marriages or leaving their jobs because of the hormone changes, right, in your body, and because of the stress you're experiencing. And a lot of times the stress you're experiencing becomes, I don't think I can do my job well. I don't think I can show up well in my marriage because of the stress I'm having. So let's talk about how to take care of your mental health while you're managing chronic health conditions, while you're navigating perimenopause and menopause. One is, and this one I cannot emphasize enough, give yourself permission to slow down. I have talked about this a lot in this group, that as we get older, we have a more finite amount of energy, and our bodies are a lot less capable navigating the constant push. Your body won't do that anymore. When you were in your 20s, maybe your early 30s, you could be sleep deprived, you could push through, you could have the, mile long to-do list. And yes, you would feel overwhelmed, and yes, you would potentially feel stressed, and yes, that you would struggle with that, but you could have it. When you are in midlife and beyond, that list and that pressure is actually going to cause you collapse. You will have worsening symptoms. You will struggle more with your health conditions. You will actually crash, right? Your body cannot sustain that anymore. And so I want to challenge you to start changing the way that you think about productivity and your personal value, meaning you are not worth more because you're more productive. Okay. Being more productive doesn't make you worthy. And also to transition your thoughts about what productivity is. Okay. It is very, very productive to honor your body. It's very, very productive to practice self-care. It's very productive to rest when you need to rest. And the reason is that long-term, you are paying into your health. Doing all of those things is actually the same as eating a balanced meal. It's the same as getting in your exercise, going for a walk, doing your strength training. Getting adequate rest and self-care and downtime is just as productive as going to the gym. And when we start to actually make that connection as to how important that is for our health, our well-being, and our longevity, hopefully we can reframe how we feel about resting, right? How we feel about that downtime. Number 2 is create micro moments of regulation. And what I mean by that is you don't need an hour, you don't need 15 minutes of meditation. Having a few minutes where you sit with intentional stillness, where you do a little bit of breath work or a little pressure points, a little EFT, maybe you do legs up the wall. This is going to help reset or re-regulate your stress levels. I talk about this a lot. I talk about this a lot with my family. We all have issues with generalized anxiety disorder, panic attacks, etc. And I talk about how important it is to do, to turn your shower down and just be in the water that's cooler for a few minutes or for 1 minute. And so you don't have to dedicate a lot of time to this. I feel like people get really stressed with stress management techniques because they feel too time consuming and they feel like they're not really doable. And so I want to really challenge you to think about small micro moments of regulation. What are some little things that we can do to regulate ourselves, right? And I think that this makes a really big difference to how we get through our day. We don't need to spend a lot of time here because I think that a lot of us don't have a lot of time, right? So really recognizing that just taking a minute to reset, to take a deep breath, to remind yourself that you're safe and supported can make a huge difference. And by all means, if you have more time than that and you want to call a friend, you want to sit in a nice hot tub, you want to, okay, whatever that looks like for you, do it. But if you don't have time to go for a half an hour walk, turn on your favorite song and dance it out like a maniac. And I guarantee you, you will feel better at the end of that. Number 3 is focus on emotional hygiene. This is a thing I don't think we're doing enough of as a group. I think that women don't do this because this one can be a little more time consuming, but creating a habit of journaling, adding that to a routine that already exists, talking to a therapist or coach, getting in a support group, inner circle is great for this because you can get in that group and kind of take from it what benefits you and leave behind what really doesn't, and have support of other women who are going through a lot of the same stuff you are, and giving yourself permission to just feel the feelings, not to try to fix them, not to try to blanket over them, not to try to push them down so you can keep being productive in your day, but just to feel your feelings and know that they're not permanent. They're not going to last forever. We do not need to be afraid of our feelings. We will get through. Number 4, nourish your mind and body together. What we eat really impacts our stress level, in part because what we consume, right, is going to stress our bodies or it's going to nourish our bodies. So there's a lot of foods that can stress our bodies. Foods like high levels of caffeine. I'm not saying you have to give up coffee. High levels of caffeine, alcohol, sugar, highly processed foods. Those foods are very stressful for your body. And so working to eat more whole foods, eat more plants can really help improve your internal physical stress. You want to try to balance your blood sugar to reduce anxiety and fatigue. You want to focus on foods or supplements for magnesium, omega-3s, B vitamins. Those can be a really big deal for nervous system support. I highly recommend getting methylated B vitamins if you suspect that you have the MTHFR gene. You can get a test online, right, like a cheek swab test if you actually want to dig more into that, because you might be struggling to absorb B vitamins if you're really struggling with fatigue. And then gentle movement to release tension without adding stress. I think a lot of people feel like to get a good workout in, they really need to sweat and they really need to push themselves. But I can't emphasize enough how important for balance and long-term health, gentle movement, things like stretching and yoga can be a game changer for fall prevention and injury prevention later in life. It is very effective to do those exercises, and they also can help a lot with stress management. And I want to just encourage you to track what makes you feel better. I've talked a lot here about a lot of different ideas, and it's very important when we talk about stress to not get overwhelmed, right, with all the stress things to do. And so I want to encourage you to track what helps you feel better. Keep a symptom tracker. All right. I have a great symptom decoder. I highly recommend it. It's a great resource because it gives you some rescue ideas, things that you can do to feel better right away. It helps you track what you're doing. It helps you create habits about what you're doing to get some of those mental health, right? That mental health self-care in on a regular basis. But it most importantly helps you identify what's helping so that you are not wasting time doing things that aren't effective for you. All of our bodies are different and unique. We all have different and unique needs, especially when we're dealing with other chronic health things or dealing with perimenopause or menopause. And so tracking what you're doing will help you identify, you know what, this really helps me sleep. This, I tried it. It doesn't do anything for me. All right. So I'm not going to waste my time and my energy doing this because, again, we have limited energy and a lot of times we have limited time. So really being able to identify what it is that is effective for you can make a huge difference. If that is something that, and I recommend it to everybody, check out the symptom tracker. I'll put the link below so that you guys can get a hold of it, but it makes a huge difference. And there's also a doctor's appointment prep list in there. So when you go see your doctor, you have your ideas collected and you actually have kind of a template for questions to ask, things that you would like addressed or tested or looked into. So I want to encourage you to get a hold of that. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that you recognize that you deserve to feel whole again. Coming into this place in life, way too many people, especially women, are just like, we're just getting older. It is what it is. We just have to suck it up and deal with it and stop complaining about it. And I feel like we get that impression from a lot of the medical community, a lot of social things. And I feel like women are told that their whole lives. We're told that about having babies. We're told that about our menstrual cycles. We're told that about anything that is specifically unique to women's bodies. And it's really not fair. If our husbands were going through this, there would be treatments, there would be support, there would be considerations made for this. But women are often told to just suck it up and deal with it. This is not happening just because you're aging. There's other stuff going on here. You deserve to feel better, and you can. You still have a lot to contribute to the world, and you can. And so really coming to a place where you are able to embrace the idea that you deserve better than this, and that you want better than this for your future self. Women go through perimenopause, menopause, generally start perimenopause in their 40s and spend 40 years in perimenopause and postmenopause. Half of your life will be spent there. And it's not half of your life that you just go, oh, well, I feel terrible and I'm just going to live with feeling terrible for 40 years. So I want to encourage you to take the reins and to know that there is so much you can do, and you deserve to feel healthy. You deserve to reclaim your life. You deserve for your golden years to actually be golden years, to actually feel really incredible and amazing, and to be excited about those years and to enjoy all the things you dreamed of enjoying, whether that's traveling or hobbies or writing a book or starting a business, whatever that is for you to have hope, right? And enthusiasm about your future. You deserve that. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel. I am super excited that you are here, and I will see you soon. Bye, everyone.